Hello YouTube, my name is Nero, and today we have some Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, and this video is going to be a bit of a conspiracy theory in some respects, but I also feel as though it's an important discussion to have about the Call of Duty franchise. So the title of the video is Raven Software secretly making Modern Warfare Remastered more casual friendly? That's a very good question if you ask me, because they took a lot of very overpowered and very strong aspects of Call of Duty 4, and they put them here in Modern Warfare Remastered whole cloth. Like, the M16 is just as brokenly powerful in this game as it was back in Call of Duty 4. The frag grenades are just as ridiculously powerful, but they have also changed around a couple of things, like, for example, the spawn system, right? We're talking about subtle things here that maybe more casual fans won't notice, but longtime fans of Call of Duty 4 definitely notice. The spawn system in Modern Warfare Remastered is much different than it was back in Call of Duty 4. In fact, you are flipping spawns continuously nowadays, whereas back in Call of Duty 4, you really had to push to get out of a spawn trap. Like, for example, on Bog, that was the map that was basically... that was the spawn trap map, right? If you had A and B, you put the opposing team at C, and you were shooting fish in the barrel for the most part. Like, it really rewarded you taking the B flag at the beginning of the round, because that's how it played out. I've noticed while playing on Bog that even when we have A and B, for no reason whatsoever, they will spawn me on C, just as a way to try to flip the spawns a little bit. They're going to have me spawning on C, and then if I stay there for a while, more people will be able to spawn on C, then they're going to put the other team on A. They're constantly flipping spawns, I've noticed, here in Modern Warfare Remastered, which is something that the Call of Duty franchise has done over the past couple of years to try to make the game more accessible to new fans. Back in COD 4, back in Modern Warfare 2, back in the original Black Ops, back in World at War, spawns didn't flip a whole lot. Like, if you're playing Domination, you had A and B, they were spawning at C. You best believe, like, if you had one or two people running through their area, quote unquote, it would be okay. And of course, the spawns wouldn't flip. Whereas in more current Call of Duty games, if you have one person look at their flag funny, suddenly they're spawning behind you on your back flag, right? That's just something they've done. It's something to make the game a little bit more random, and in my opinion, make it more accessible to new players, which is a good thing and a bad thing. We're definitely going to be discussing that here in this video. How about the sound here in Modern Warfare Remastered? Now, they have been working on it, but it still is not quite where it was back in Call of Duty 4. In fact, I was watching a live stream yesterday. I was watching Wings of Redemption. He's giving Modern Warfare Remastered a chance. He's actually been playing it for a little bit, and I was watching him play that, and he mentioned in his live stream, like, he wasn't talking to me or anything, I was just a viewer. He was responding to somebody in chat who said that with the right sound cards and stuff like that, you can still hear footsteps pretty easily in Modern Warfare Remastered. And Wings is like, back in COD 4, you could sound horror with your television, and that was true. Like, you could really hear footsteps. Like, you could hear, I've described it in the past, but I could hear you if you were 50 yards away, and I could tell you what surface you were walking on, right? I could tell you if you were walking on wood, on steel. I could tell if you were on the first floor or the second floor. I could tell you exactly where you were. Like, sound touring was a big part of that game, which is why Dead Silence was a very powerful perk back in COD 4. But here in Modern Warfare Remastered, I can have people run right up to me without Dead Silence, and I'm listening for these people. Like, I'm a very attentive person when I play video games, and I had no idea that person was coming. They run right up to me, they kill me. It's like, oh, well, I had no way of actually knowing you were coming at me, which is just one of those things that they've actually done in the Call of Duty franchise. Like, ever since... oh, I want to say the original Black Ops and on, although I think I'm wrong on a couple of them. I think Modern Warfare 3 had pretty good sound, but for the most part, let's say the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 Call of Duty games, something like that. I'm just giving you guys a rough number here. Sound has not been very useful, right? I remember back in Black Ops 2, like, I didn't even use Ninja, or was it called Dead Silence in that game? One of the two, you guys know. I wouldn't even use that perk when I played Search and Destroy, because the footsteps were so silent, it wasn't really useful for me. Like, and that's kind of true in most Call of Duty games these days. Like, Dead Silence and footsteps are just so ridiculously quiet. And I remember in Advanced Warfare, like, these people are dashing around with exosuits, right? These guys have metal exosuits attached to them, yet they are quiet as church mice as they're flying around in the air, sneaking up on you and stuff like that. It's insane. You can't hear footsteps in current Call of Duty games, and it just so happens that's true here in Modern Warfare Remastered as well, even though it's a recreation of a game that had arguably the best sound in the entire Call of Duty franchise. Like, the footsteps were... they were perfect back in Call of Duty 4, so freaking good. And of course, collaterals, right? Collateral damage has not been fixed yet. Now, they have been working with the community on this, but they can't seem to actually find a solution or a common ground. They say, look, it's working the exact same way it did back in Call of Duty 4. They even gave us this comparison video, but in the comparison video, everybody's standing still, whereas back in Call of Duty 4, if people were moving for some reason, that made it so you could get collaterals easier, but they have not fixed it, right? They have not made it so you can get collaterals without deep impact, without hitting them in the head. It's not like it was in Call Call of Duty 4. Now, I know we're getting into the super conspiracy theory territory here, but is that a way for them to protect new players from snipers in this game by not having collaterals? Like, why do they just not have it like it was in Call of Duty 4? I hope it gets resolved. I really do, because even though, and I've been outspoken on this in the past, even though I'm not the biggest fan of snipers in the world, I still want them to perform the way they should. Like, if somebody has 3 people lined up and they get a shot off, they should get a triple on those 3 people, and they should have a really awesome moment. I've hit a couple of triples in my day, and it feels amazing when it happens. One of them was actually on Call of Duty 4, and it's not where you think. It was actually on the map, not Strike, District. I mix up Strike and District all the time. It was on District. They were running out of the A flag and ended up getting a triple way back in the day with my M48 cog, and it felt really good. And I hope people can experience that same thing in Modern Warfare Remastered if they get lucky enough to have these people actually lined up. But right now, it's physically impossible for you to do that. So it's like, okay, I hope they get that fixed. And of course, we also have the age-old problem of lag compensation. Now, I have a couple of examples saved up here, which were actually very tough to record, because while you're playing Call of Duty, right, you see these deaths that you get, and you're like, okay, that was a BS death, like, I should save that. But it's difficult to save these things. You have to stop what I'm doing. I basically have to stop playing the game, stop recording, rename the video file, make sure I get the timestamp in there and stuff, and just, it takes a lot of time. So I don't have a lot of these saved up, but I do have a couple of examples that I want to show you guys here in this video. The first of which is going to be here on the map Overgrowth. I'm playing Domination. I'm using the M48-3. I'm trying to defend the A flag. I put this guy in my sights. I have my crosshair right on his upper chest. I shoot and I die. Because you see, according to the kill cam, I never shot on his screen. The age-old beautiful thing, oh ho ho, you didn't kill me on my screen, so I killed you. I hate that so much about the Call of Duty franchise, but it's not exclusive to Modern Warfare Remastered. Don't let me try and paint that picture. This happens in every Call of Duty game, but it's especially annoying here in Modern Warfare Remastered. Next up, we have another sniper clip. This one is actually on ambush, but the same situation. I put my crosshair on the guy, I fire my rifle, but I die because on his screen, according to the kill cam, I never shot. Right? I never shot. And of course, we also have the classic example of being shot around the corner or around the wall. Here on Shipment, things are pretty chaotic, right? All the time. And usually people with really good reflexes and awareness, they can come out on top most of the time. Except when lag compensation comes into play. Here you can see me clearly around the corner. In fact, I am so far around this corner, I'm about to round into the second crate, right? I can see through the crack between these 2 crates, I'm so far around the corner, but I still die. And according to the kill cam, the guy that shot me on his screen, I'm still all the way back there on the B flag, even though on my screen, I am so far ahead, I can see through the crack that's like way away from him. Like, it's insane how far around that corner I was, but due to lag compensation, I still died. Something that happens. The same thing actually happens here in this clip on Vacant. I duck behind this crate for cover against this guy who's using a G3, but I still get melted. And what's interesting is if you actually watch me go here in slow motion, you guys can see that I get hit for a second time when I'm already way behind the crate. But in the kill cam, he's still shooting me before I've even entered cover. Like, I'm all the way back there. But again, I'm not here to say that Modern Warfare Remastered is the first and only Call of Duty to have lag compensation or even lag issues. Like, I understand that every Call of Duty game has this. I remember my friends and I, we nicknamed back in the day the original Black Ops, which to this day is still one of my favorite Call of Duty games. We nicknamed it Wanted Ops because bullets were constantly curving around corners to be able to kill us. Like, it's a thing that happens in just about every Call of Duty game. Every COD has lag compensation, and in my near 10 years of playing the franchise, I've seen more magic bullets than the entire Kennedy administration. It's just something that we have to deal with when we're playing online games. Like, it's a necessary evil in a franchise that allows players from all around the world to play against each other in an online game where guns can kill in milliseconds. Like, lag compensation needs to be a thing. I understand why it's there. It has to happen. I know it's going to happen. I know it's in every single Call of Duty game, but still, it's very frustrating. And if you combine lag compensation here in Modern Warfare Remastered with the constantly flipping spawns, the horrible sound, and the built-in collateral protection from snipers, you may be able to make an argument that Modern Warfare Remastered is incredibly noob-friendly. Right? Perhaps some of these issues, quote unquote, were actually put in the game intentionally by Raven Software to make Modern Warfare Remastered more accessible for fans who are just now playing Call of Duty 4 for the first time. Maybe that's something that they decide to do. Maybe that's something Activision decide they should do, because it's definitely a trend in more current Call of Duty games to have the spawns be a little bit more chaotic, to make it so footsteps are not really useful or anything like that. Like, it's something that has been happening in recent Call of Duty games for a very long time, and I think it's there in an effort to make the game more accessible to new players. Now, what's interesting is we have this tweet. It's actually an older tweet, but I noticed it the day he posted it, and it's burned in my brain ever since he posted it. This is from JD 2020. He was a former community manager for Treyarch back in the day. If you guys don't know, he was like the face of Treyarch back in World at War. Yes, I know I've played Call of Duty for a long time. We're digging up JD 2020 here and talking about his tweets, but not to disrespect JD. I think JD's a great guy. I've watched him on the Painkiller Already podcast. Very cool guy. But he made this tweet saying that Call of Duty has got to find a way to solve its multiplayer accessibility problem, or the franchise will have nothing but decline in the future. According to JD 2020, he thinks that the Call of Duty multiplayer is too hardcore. It's a game where people are afraid to play it because there's so much going on and it's too difficult to just hop in and play. And I really disagree with that statement. Now, he did elaborate a little bit further in further tweets. He said, "It's funny. Call of Duty used to be all about mass casual accessibility. In fact, the number one reason esport features were getting deprioritized from 2008 to 2010 was because we can't cater to the hardcore. We can't sacrifice our casual." Keep in mind, that was during World at War, Modern Warfare 2, and the original Black Ops. Well, what has happened now is that casual audience has matured alongside the franchise, requiring more and more quote-unquote stuff to impress them year after year. User acquisition stopped being a priority around 2011, and user retention became the name of the game. Hence, in came esports and all sorts of new innovations to core movement, fresh new sci-fi directions, specialists, and etc. Now, for new players to jump into multiplayer is more intimidating than ever by an order of magnitude from where the franchise was in 2010. This means that they'll always have an ever-shrinking base of fans feeling fatigue. That's not good. Once again, I completely respect JD 2020 and all he has done in the gaming industry. Like, he's not even just the Call of Duty guy. He hasn't been the Call of Duty guy for a long time. I respect him and the stuff that he does, but I don't quite agree with his opinion. I definitely see where he's coming from. He thinks that the Call of Duty franchise is adding in all these advanced things to try to keep people wanting to play the game even more, but I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I believe they are adding all these extra things to the game in an effort to draw in a new audience and make the game more casual friendly. Now, you can say what you want about esports, right? I don't follow it whatsoever, but I really do feel as though the reason why we have exosuits, the reason why we have really random spawns, the reason why we have sound basically becoming useless in the Call of Duty franchise is because they wanted to become a more casual game. When I look back at the older Call of Duty games, and maybe this is my rose-tinted goggles speaking here, but I feel as though those games were more hardcore. Like, he's talking ever since 2010, right? He says in 2010 it was very accessible. That was Modern Warfare 2. I don't think Modern Warfare 2 was a very accessible game if you were a bad player. That was a game where if you were a bad player, you were punished ridiculously, of course, until Danger Close grenade launchers became a thing, but you were punished ridiculously. Like, if I was in your lobby, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but if I was in your lobby, we're playing ground war on Afghan, and you're a bad player, you're going to be catching a couple AC-130s, and it's going to be a good time for me. Like, I had a lot of fun playing Modern Warfare 2 because that was a game where if you were a good player, that could really snowball with the power of the kill streaks in the game. And the same can be said for Call of Duty 4. Like, we're seeing it here in Modern Warfare Remastered. Even though the spawn system is not as great as it used to be, it's still a game where if you're a good player, you're gonna shout on everyone else, right? That's part of the game, right? You're gonna be doing some ridiculously cool things, and there's not a lot other people can do. There's no crutches in this game. Like, they're not gonna randomly be able to, give you C4s like they could back in Black Ops 2. They're not gonna be able to wall run or slide at you or anything like that, right? It's basically gun on gun. Better player is gonna win the majority of the time. Of course, there are some exceptions. We are playing in a light compensation game, so things can definitely be weird here and there. But for the most part, Modern Warfare Remastered is a game where the better player is going to win. And I think the same was true in World at War. I definitely think the same was true in the original Black Ops. But after, and he's talking here like after 2010, once we got past all that, like once we started getting into Modern Warfare 3 territory, that for me is when the Call of Duty franchise started becoming more casual friendly. Modern Warfare 3, I wanted to love it so much, but they added in so many casual friendly things into that game that it was difficult to love that game. It really was. It was a game where Dead Man's Hand was a thing. Death Streaks streaks were a thing. It was a game where support streaks were a thing, and people were calling in these just free stealth bombers left and right. You know, it was a game where you could die very, very quickly, and of course, it also had lag compensation, so you would die around corners and stuff like that. It was a super casual, friendly game, and that was one of the things I did not like about it, right? I remember complaining so much about that back in Modern Warfare 3, and every Call of Duty game after that, for the most part, has been pretty similar. I would say that the Treyarch games have been a bit more hardcore. Like, I would say Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 were a bit more hardcore, but when I play Ghosts, or if I play Advanced Warfare, or if I play Modern Warfare 3, like, when I play these games personally, I feel as though they cater to casual players a little bit more. There's a little bit more randomness in those games, right? The spawns are flipping a little bit more. You know, footsteps aren't really a thing. You're being shot in the back a little bit more. There's gunfights everywhere. And there really isn't a whole lot of flow to the maps. It's more or less just people are constantly everywhere, constantly shooting people from all directions. Like, that was my biggest complaint about Ghost, was the fact that they removed the UAV. For what reason, I have no idea. They removed the UAV in a game that had maps that really weren't designed in like a 3-lane style. For the most part, the Ghost maps were just a big old cluster of like people constantly running around and shooting each other in the back. There were no UAVs. Everyone was using a silencer, and everyone died in 2 or 3 shots. It was a super casual feeling that I got when I played that game, as compared to Modern Warfare 2, where the spawns were kind of set in stone and the kill streaks would really snowball out of control. Or Call of Duty 4, where once again the spawns were set in stone and the sound was amazing. Or World at War, where gun skill really won every gunfight. I mean, for the most part, except for the MP40. Like, it just, when I look back at the Call of Duty games, I look at them as if they were more hardcore. Whereas more recently, I feel as though the Call of Duty franchise is getting more casual. And either way, even though, you know, JD and I appear to disagree on this subject, one thing remains true: the Call of Duty franchise is losing players, right? It's not selling as well as it used to. Now, it is still the best game every single year. I think that's important to remember. It's still the best-selling game every single year, and that's every single year, guys. Go back and look at the history. Every year, Call of Duty is the best one, except for the one year that GTA 5 came out, and Call of Duty placed second that year, actually. It's still a popular game, but it's not as popular as it used to be. So I feel as though they should go back to their roots. And I talked about that recently in my video where I said maybe they should fire Infinity Ward. Should they or should they not? I feel as though that they should go back to their roots. The Call of Duty franchise should go back to their roots, whether that's modern combat, like what we see here in Modern Warfare Remastered, or if it's going back to World War II, something in Vietnam, perhaps, maybe in the Cold War, stuff like that. Like, that is what I want to see. I want to see the Call of Duty franchise go back to its roots. I want to be using... And I know it's a bit of a sore spot now because of Modern Warfare Remastered, but I want to see an M16 in the jungles of Vietnam just taking out people. I want chopper gunners up in the air. I want some Hueys, right? I want that stuff. That's what the Call of Duty franchise was to me. And it wasn't super casual friendly, right? It was a game where if you were a bad player, you knew it. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you wanted to improve, right? That's one of the things that got me into the Call of Duty franchise. Like, when I started playing Call of Duty 4, I was awful. Like, when I first started playing, I remember I made a class. I call it the Rambo class. I used an RPD. I forget, maybe sleight of hand. It wasn't stopping power. I know that for a fact. It was not stopping power. And I would lay in corners. I would just lay down. I called it Rambo, even though I would hide all the time. And I would just hide with this light machine gun. I can remember it was on Backlot. We spawned on the A flag in Domination. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, right? I took 5 steps out of my spawn, and I laid down next to the wall, and I aimed down sights with my light machine gun, and that's how I played, because I was so bad at the game that was the only way I could get kills. And I was bad, you know, I was constantly dying. I remember I had like a 0.7 kill death ratio or something like that, but I wanted to get better. And the game did not hold my hand to make me better. I had to get better, and that's why in a recent video, I made a video saying you guys should stop using frag times 3 or stun times 3, because it can really impact your play style. And some people interpreted that as, well, Nero's trying to say to use a suboptimal class, so he's just giving you bad advice. No, the advice I'm trying to give you is, if you can learn to rely on just you and just your gun, that is the best way to make you a good Call of Duty player. Sure, you can be a good COD player and use frag times 3, but you'll be better at improving if you don't rely on frag times 3. Like, work without it for a while, and then when you do start using it, you're going to feel like a monster, because you're going to be amazing with your gun as well as your grenades, right? That's what I was trying to say in that video. Some people misinterpret it, but of course, it's the Call of Duty community, and things are often misinterpreted by people on the internet. But yeah, I feel as though the Call of Duty franchise has become a bit more casual friendly in an effort to bring in more sales, but it hasn't been bringing in more sales. So maybe they should think about switching it back up to the way things used to be and see if that would bring back the numbers that they had back when Call of Duty was the way that it was before it became what it is today. Of course, I'm talking about Infinite Warfare, I'm talking about Black Ops 3, I'm talking about Advanced Warfare. But ladies and gentlemen, I am definitely rambling at this point. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. That is going to be the conclusion here. Do you think Raven Software is making Modern Warfare Remastered casual friendly on purpose? I definitely think that's an interesting topic for sure. And I would love to hear what you guys think about that down there in the comment section below. And where do you guys think the Call of Duty franchise is going to be going forward? Like, what do you guys think? Like, oh gosh, I am really excited for Sledgehammer's new game. I really am. COD 2017, I really think could be fantastic. And I know it's weird to talk about that. Like, we are like 1 month out from Modern Warfare Remastered and Infinite Warfare coming out. Like, it's only been out for a month. We're already talking about COD 2017. But I really think Sledgehammer can make a really cool game. And if they happen to go back to World War II, like, imagine the hype, like, of the first trailer. If you see, like, World War II, or if you see Vietnam, you see, like, a couple of Hueys flying through the jungle, or if you see, like, people storming some beaches or something like that. Like, how excited would the COD franchise be to see that? Like, I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing in the future. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Once again, definitely rambling at this point. If you did enjoy the video, please drop me a rating. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.